Trump didn't just walk into trouble this time. He sprinted straight into it. And what set everything off wasn't a leak, wasn't a report, but a moment that unfolded live, right in front of the country. A moment where Pam Bondi, under pressure, appeared to confirm what many had suspected for years. The kind of moment that doesn't just make headlines. It forces people to start asking questions they weren't supposed to ask. Because what came out in that hearing wasn't just political noise. It was something deeper, something that hinted at a system breaking down in real time.
Attorney General Bondi, according to your department, a child is sexually abused in the United States every 9 minutes. And the vast majority of survivors never get justice. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Epstein case has resonated so deeply with so many Americans. And the other reason, I think, is because it has revealed a two-tiered system of justice. And the powerful are protected, and the survivors rarely get any accountability. And the Epstein files contain evidence of a multi-decade international criminal conspiracy involving some of the wealthiest and the most powerful people in the world. There's evidence of financial crimes, political corruption, sex trafficking, and of course, horrible sexual abuse. And I want to remind everybody, this isn't a game. These are real people, people who have suffered, who are sitting here with us today, and they deserve answers, and they deserve accountability. And I'm here to try to get some for them. Now, I've seen some of the unredacted Epstein files, and obviously, as you know, President Trump's name is all over them, but so are the names of other senior Trump officials: Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce; John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy; and Stephen Feinberg, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These men were appointed by President Trump to senior positions in his administration. All of them have clear and confirmed ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Bondi, yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Excuse me. Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know whether he has addressed those or not.
Has the Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Epstein
Okay,
instead
I'm
of a
reclaiming
Border
my
Patrol
time.
agent
I'm asking
murdered.
you not a trick question, a simple
Stunned.
question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
does ties mean?
I can conclude from what you are saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean?
I think Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does ties mean? Can you define that?
Across the world,
can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace. And that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace
standard,
is not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president
he?
aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask
Who was
questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
One second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
this
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic. This
beautiful
is
state.
pathetic, Mr.
Committee
Chair.
will be in order.
I am not asking trick questions here.
You
The
got your
American
5
people
minutes.
have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell. By 2008, we knew that Epstein was a convicted sexual abuser. And we now know that Lutnick went to Epstein's Island in 2012. How was that not a deal breaker for the president? And why aren't you asking questions of the Commerce Secretary about what he saw when he was at the island, which he lied about not ever going to? Why are you not asking these questions? And I see that my time is almost expired, so I will say this. Do the right thing, Attorney General. Meet with the survivors. They have been asking for a year. Meet with the survivors. Do the right thing. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
May I have 20 seconds of his time?
That'll be up to the gentleman, but.
Absolutely, Madam
Thank
President.
you, thank you. I was curious if you, Congresswoman, asked Bill Clinton that. Didn't see one tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once when he was
Weak
here.
sauce.
And
Weak sauce.
also, I want the record to reflect that, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
He is Jewish. I just want to be clear.
Do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are you
belongs to the
serious?
gentleman
Talking
from
about
South
anti-Semitism
Carolina.
to a woman who
Lady
lost
will-
her grandfather in the Holocaust?
my time. I
Really?
reclaim my time.
Really?
The committee will be in order.
Talk to Jared Wise about anti-Semitism.
The ranking member knows that.
Can I get like 30 seconds back,
Yeah,
since
I've been.
Ballant took
I think
30
the
of
whole
mine.
committee knows I've been very
All right,
generous
thank
in
you.
making sure everyone gets their 5 minutes in the same.
Attorney General, I'm going to talk about sanctions.
And the more you look at it, the more it feels like this story is just getting started. The hearing itself was supposed to be routine. Another congressional session, another round of questions, another predictable back and forth. But within minutes, it spiraled into something else entirely. Lawmakers weren't just asking questions. They were interrupting, pushing, refusing to let answers slide. You could feel the tension building with every exchange. Voices were raised, accusations were thrown, and the phrase "reclaiming my time" echoed over and over like a warning signal. This wasn't a calm discussion. It was a collision. And at the center of it all sat Bondi, trying to maintain control as the room around her became increasingly chaotic. But the chaos wasn't random. It was driven by one core issue that no one could ignore. That issue hit like a bombshell: zero charges. That's what lawmakers claimed. After everything that had come out about Epstein, after years of investigations, after endless public outrage, the number of co-conspirators charged beyond the obvious names was allegedly still zero. And that's what stopped everyone in their tracks. Because it raised a question that's almost impossible to ignore. How is that even possible? How does a case this massive, with this many connections, end with so few people held accountable? It didn't sit right with the public, and it clearly didn't sit right with the people in that room. And once that question was out there, it wasn't going away. But that wasn't even the full story. Because as the hearing continued, attention shifted to something even bigger: the files. Millions of pages. Documents that were supposed to contain answers, details, names. Lawmakers pointed out that despite legal pressure, despite public demand, much of this information had either been delayed, heavily redacted, or kept out of reach entirely. And that's where things started to get uncomfortable. Because now it wasn't just about what had been done, it was about what hadn't been done, what hadn't been released, what hadn't been explained. And the more that gap grew, the more people started to wonder what might be sitting behind it. Then came the part that pushed the tension even further: the questions about Trump. Now, to be clear, much of what was being discussed fell into the category of allegations, speculation, and claims that have been debated for years. But that didn't stop lawmakers from bringing it up directly. They referenced past associations, public appearances, and reports that had circulated for a long time. Bondi's response was immediate and firm. There was no evidence of wrongdoing. But that answer didn't calm the room. If anything, it did the opposite. Because once a topic like that is introduced, it doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It forces people to look closer, to question more, to connect dots, whether those dots lead anywhere or not. And that's when the hearing took another turn. Because one lawmaker didn't just ask questions, they presented what they described as a witness statement. Now, again, this falls firmly into the realm of claims, not confirmed facts. but the way it was delivered made it impossible to ignore. The suggestion was that there were individuals who had come forward, individuals who had information that hadn't been fully investigated. And if that were true, it would raise serious concerns about how the entire case had been handled. Bondi pushed back hard, rejecting the implication, defending the record. But by that point, the damage was already done. The idea was out there. And once something like that enters the conversation, it changes everything. At this stage, the hearing wasn't really a hearing anymore. It had turned into a standoff. Bondi began firing back at lawmakers, not just answering questions but challenging them, calling out their statements, even questioning their motives. The room grew louder, more chaotic. The chairman had to step in multiple times just to restore order. It was clear that the structure of the session was breaking down. Rules were being ignored, time limits stretched, interruptions becoming constant. And for viewers watching it unfold, it didn't look like a controlled process. It looked like something unraveling. But while all of this was happening on the surface, there was something deeper running underneath it. Because sitting in that room, beyond the politicians, beyond the cameras, were people who had been waiting for answers for a very long time. Survivors. Individuals whose lives had been directly impacted by the events at the center of this case. And for them, this wasn't about political points or heated exchanges. It was about accountability. It was about closure. And as the hearing continued to spiral, it became harder and harder to see how they were getting any closer to that. The focus eventually returned to the core issue, accountability. Lawmakers pointed out that despite years of investigations, despite massive public interest, there were still major gaps. Names that hadn't been revealed, actions that hadn't been taken, questions that hadn't been answered. And Bondi's responses, while firm, didn't seem to satisfy those concerns. Instead, they often shifted the conversation, pointing to previous administrations, highlighting other failures, redirecting attention. But that strategy only worked up to a point. Because at some stage, the question becomes unavoidable. What is being done right now? And that's what made this moment so significant. It wasn't just another political argument. It was a snapshot of a system under pressure, a system being questioned from multiple directions at once. On one side, you had demands for transparency, for action, for accountability. On the other, you had legal limitations, procedural defenses, and firm denials. And somewhere in the middle was the truth, whatever that truth may be. But the problem is, the longer that truth remains unclear, the more space there is for speculation, for doubt, for frustration. As the hearing came to a close, there was no clear resolution, no definitive answer that tied everything together. Instead, what remained was a sense of uncertainty, a sense that something important had been exposed, but not fully explained. And that's what makes this story so compelling. Because it's not finished, not even close. The questions raised in that room aren't going away. If anything, they're only going to grow louder. So where does that leave things now? It leaves the public watching closely. It leaves lawmakers under pressure to keep pushing. And it leaves figures like Trump and Bondi facing a level of scrutiny that isn't likely to fade anytime soon. Because once a moment like this happens, once those questions are asked in front of everyone, you can't just move on as if nothing happened. The narrative has shifted. The spotlight has intensified. And the next chapter of this story is already starting to take shape. But here's the part that really stands out. For years, people have been asking the same question. Will the full truth ever come out? Not partial answers. Not selective releases. The full picture. And moments like this make that question feel more urgent than ever. Because they show just how much is still unresolved. How much is still hidden behind layers of process, politics, and power. And maybe that's why this hearing hit so differently. It wasn't just about what was said. It was about what wasn't said. The pauses, the deflections, the unanswered questions, they all added up to something bigger. Something that viewers could feel, even if they couldn't fully define it. A sense that there's more beneath the surface. That the story we're seeing is only part of a much larger picture. Now the real question is what happens next. Do investigations expand? Do more documents get released? Do new names come forward? Or does everything settle back into the usual cycle of headlines and silence? That's what everyone is waiting to see. Because one thing is clear, this moment changed the conversation. And once that happens, there's no going back. So if you've been following this story, stay locked in. Because the next developments could be even bigger than what we just saw. And if you thought this hearing was intense, Just wait until the next round of revelations starts to surface. If you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep dives like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.